Good morning, great Americans. It's another great American video from Kentucky. Um, I don't really have a title for this video because there's all kinds of stuff, tons of stuff happening in the news. And if I make a video for each one, I'll have too many videos. So remember on Star Trek when Captain Kirk would say, Captain's log, start date, so and so, so and so. But every once in a while, he would say, Captain's log supplemental, right? Because he's throwing in a little extra, log in between. So this is a supplemental video. Great American Log supplemental. So God, it's just a couple things that are just irking me, man. So first of all, I have a serious suggestion regarding. I actually mentioned this in another video, and a lot of people have been mentioning this too, which is that one of the results of this election is illuminating and hopefully eliminating the sort of self-made priority of the legacy fake news media. Listen, man, Joe Rogan gets 30 times the audience of primetime CNN viewership. 30 times. Now think about this for a minute. Well, first of all, let me tell you what I think they should do. They should take every news broadcast of every kind across the board, from the old legacy ABC, CBS, NBC, and then stuff like Joe Rogan podcast. Now, someone would say, well, that's not news. Well, I would reply, who the fuck are you to say what's news? If a president is talking and having a conversation for 3 hours with somebody, then everything he says is news, technically, right? So who are you to say, why? Just because some guy with an ABC suit with a big ABC logo is not sitting behind a fake, phony Johnny Carson desk? Oh, that's what makes it news? Fuck that. So they should take all these shows, from Joe Rogan to ABC News to Fox to the news stuff like Breitbart and Newsmax, and even like Megyn Kelly or whatever, all these things, right? Then they need to do a comprehensive study of the audience, right? Who has the biggest audience? Like Joe Rogan would be like over here, and CNN would be over here, and probably all of those NBC, CNN. I mean, who the fuck watches CBS News? Does anybody even watch it? So what they need to do is do a comprehensive study of the viewership levels and the audience sizes of all these things, and then the seating chart, for formal presidential press conferences, right? And even the small briefing, even the small press conferences that happen daily in the briefing room, but especially the big formal nighttime presidential news conferences. They need to seat everybody according to viewership size. That means that people like Joe Rogan, or probably not him, but maybe he would send a representative, right? Somebody who a reporter or somebody that represents the Joe Rogan. People like Joe Rogan and others would be in the front row and get the main questions. And people like CNN and CBS would be in the back row because nobody watches them. And guess what? And here's where the thinking really has to change. If any of those losers says, well, we're just going to boycott. We're going to boycott your presidential press conference and we're not going to broadcast it. Well, guess what? The reply should be, who gives a shit? Nobody watches your channel anyway. You know what? If a presidential press conference, a White House press conference, was just broadcast on like Joe Rogan and Fox and other specific video podcasts, in other words, and they were not shown on the old CBS, NBC, nobody would care because nobody watches those. This is what these people have not gotten into their head. Nobody watches those. So Americans really need to get out of this sort of, and it's hard to do, right? Because we grew up with it, right? We grew up with ABC, CBS, NBC, right? NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw. Tom Brokaw. We grew up with, all that stuff. And so it's hard to imagine. It's hard to, but the reality is that nobody watches them. And everybody's getting their news from somewhere else. And those are the only things we should care about. So we have to get our, so anyway, that's my number one in my supplemental video is do a study to compare audience size for everything from A to Z, man, from old news to podcasts to Joe Rogan's types to new news to everything. And then you seat people accordingly in press briefings and formal press conferences according to viewership, which would mean, again, like I said, that people like CNN and CBS would be in the back row where nobody could see them. And in the front row, you'll have the big players that everybody likes to listen to. And they'll get the questions. And then you also set up big video screens on the side, each side of the president, so we can bring in some questions from local people around the country. Yeah, this is not, yeah. So anyway, that's number one. That's seat everybody according to viewership size. Big ones in the front, nobody's in the back. That'll teach the bastards a lesson. That's number one. Number two, in the potpourri or the supplemental, Melania Trump snubbing Jill Biden. Well, this is a no-brainer, right? Fuck Jill Biden. That low-life scum and her low-life scum husband, they just need to go. They ought to be damn lucky that we're not prosecuting them and throwing them in jail. Look at Melania Trump and President Trump, too, and their home was violated in the most disgusting fascist way when all their personal Melania Trump has no reason, not one single reason to be polite to these pieces of shit, the Bidens. I would have, you're lucky I'm not, I'd let her, I'd rip into him, man. So, but she just politely declined, and good, because they got nothing coming. You know what? I did a video once about fake news. And it's all coming to fruition now. I did this video once about fake news and how the real danger of fake news is that these fake news stories become accepted as fact, and then more fake news gets built on top of it. And so you have a foundation of fake news underneath fake news, and then it gets to the point where the whole thing is bullshit, right? And so let's remember, let's kind of peel back a few layers of fake news. Melania was personal belongings, her underwear drawer, and everything was rifled through by these Gestapo fascists that worked for Biden. But remember the reason. The reason was because of a big, gigantic lie that Trump somehow confiscated documents he wasn't supposed to have, which was a lie. Okay, and these were lies that were being told to try and jail Trump to keep him out of the election. That's election interference, which they denied, which is another lie. And they're interfering in the election because they think Trump is a fascist and he's a danger to democracy, and that's another lie. See, all these lies start building on top of lies. Today you've got these idiot women who are these stupid left-wing women who are shaving their heads and they're wearing blue armbands. It's a big protest against Trump but you got to understand, the reason they think Trump is a bad person is all based on lies. continuous, ongoing fake news lies, fake news stories built upon fake news stories. You know, I mean, like the fake news story that there was an insurrection on January 6th. That wasn't an insurrection. It was just a big giant protest that got out of hand, and a few people broke the law, and that's fine. But it wasn't an insurrection. They called it an insurrection to keep Trump from running. But then that fake news became accepted as fact that it was an insurrection. And then other fake stories start happening on top of it. Well, now we have to have a committee, a Jan 6th committee because of the insurrection. Yeah, but wait a minute. There was no insurrection. Well, the Jan 6th committee came up with this, that, and the other. But wait a minute. That stuff is fake because the committee is fake because there was no insurrection. You see, fake news builds upon itself. And now, 4 years, 8 years later, the left has created this entire fake news fantasy world where each thing is tied in with other fake news, right? It's just like a house of cards of bullshit and lies. And now they can draw upon it. And so where was I going with this? Anyway, so Melania had every right to snub Jill Biden because what they did to the Trump's home was horrible. And what they did was based on more fake news lies about Trump taking documents and committing crimes. And it's all fake news. It's all lies. So that's number two. I already forgot what number one was. Okay. Number one was rate all newscasts, podcasts, and everything according to audience, and then seat people accordingly in the press briefings. Big audiences up front, like Joe Rogan. Little audiences in the back row, like CNN. That's point number one. Point number two was Melania. I kind of spread into fake news accidentally. I'm sorry. Melania had every reason to snub Jill Biden. Those people are horrible, awful people who violated her in the most personal way, and she should really kick them in the nuts is what she ought to do. So that is number two. Number three, Matt Gaetz. What a fantastic choice! This man, he does. And of course, here's point number three in my supplemental video. Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski have said they're probably going to vote against Matt Gaetz. Now, you think about this. First of all, those two low-life fake rhino swamp witches have always screwed their own party for decades. Susan Collins has been a thorn in the foot of the GOP literally for decades. For decades, she has voted with Democrats and against her own party. I say, with this monumental win, this big landslide victory, the time has come to carve out the cancer. I say that Trump, in his authority as leader of the National Republican Party, needs to expel Susan Collins and expel Lisa Murkowski from the party. Let all their funds and support dry up. They will no longer enjoy any support. They will not even be allowed in the party. They won't be recognized as party members. They'll be, I guess, I don't know what would happen to them in the Senate. They would just be independents, I guess, kind of like Bernie Sanders. You know, I don't know what they would do, but who gives a shit? I think we have more than enough seats in the Senate. We can get rid of them and still have a majority. So the time has come to get rid of these two bitches. Because remember, the most sick, disgusting, degenerate, corrupt AG, Attorney General in history, Merrick Garland. Those two women voted for him. They voted for Merrick Garland, but they won't vote for Trump's pick with a Republican. And you see how this ties in with what I said earlier about fake news, how fake news, these two women are actually believers in fake news. I bet you Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski watch CNN instead of Fox News. I bet you they watch I bet you they get their information from CNN and the New York Times. And they actually believe the fake news lies about Matt Gaetz, that he's a bad person. That's how stupid these people are. That's the danger of fake news. But anyway, so that's point number 3. Expel those two bitches from the National Party. Let's be done with them, man. Every presidential election, those two names rear their ugly heads as roadblocks. And man, I am sick and tired of fake rhinos popping up and turning into a roadblock, because that's always happens to Republican presidents. Remember what John McCain did to Trump? Trump was one vote in the Senate. He had all the votes he needed by a slim margin of one vote in the Senate to eliminate Obamacare. Remember, in 2017, for 8 years of Obama, Republicans had begged, please get rid of Obamacare, please get rid of Obamacare, please get rid of Obamacare. And when the moment came for the big vote in Trump's first year of office, get rid of Obamacare, what did John McCain do? He flipped his vote. He broke his promise to his own constituents, and he voted to keep Obamacare. And he only did it for one simple reason, was to spite Trump and out of dislike for Trump. Fuck John McCain. I don't care if he's dead, and I don't care if he served in the military. Fuck John McCain and his lard-ass stupid kid. He was a traitor to this country for that reason. And I say traitor, and here's why. He promised for 8 years to help overturn Obamacare. And when the moment came, he broke his promise, not for any good reason, out of pure spite, because he didn't like Trump. He was a petty little piece of shit. And as far as I'm concerned, when you promise the American people something for 8 years and then you break your promise for no good reason, you're a traitor. And that's what these two women are. So they need to get the boot. So that is number 3 on the agenda, is to finally cut out that cancer and get rid of Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski, expel them from the National Party. And finally, as a final point, I made a couple recent videos. I really hope you watch them, because I made one about Iran, which I think is right on the money. And then I made one before that about China, the Ukraine, and and I forgot what it's about. Woo, it's early in the morning. Anyway, I made one about China and the Ukraine, and then I also made one about Iran. And so I want to just throw those in as a sub sort of talking point. Another talking point is, man, these recent picks of Trump has been picking people for his administration are fantastic. I just want to say to all the idiots out there who don't like Pete Hegseth, or I can't pronounce his name right, the choice for the Department of Defense. What? Just because, so what? So he took a job on Fox News. So fucking what? Let me remind you people, for all you people who thought Tulsi Gabbard should be president or Tulsi Gabbard should be vice president, and I like Tulsi Gabbard, mind you. She has no more experience than this guy. This guy is I think she's a colonel in the U.S. Army. This guy is also a decorated war vet, military man. He's a Harvard graduate. He is, let me tell you something. This guy, Pete how do you pronounce his name? Hegseth, whatever. Fox News host. He's more more qualified than Hillary Clinton. What is Hillary? The only thing Hillary Clinton did to get into Washington was to be married to Bill Clinton. After that, everything she was handed was because she was Mrs. Bill Clinton. She became a senator of New York. Why? She had no experience. She wasn't from New York. They gave it to her because her last name was Clinton. That's her soul. And the same reason that Obama gave her Secretary of State, because it was a whole party thing and he defeated her, so he had to throw her a little bone and he made her Secretary of State. But she had no experience there. That woman had no experience in anything. Never served in the military, never served anybody but her own fat ass, and never been of any kind of real service to anybody. Right? She's just a money-sucking, blood-sucking lawyer who sucked her way up to being first lady and then tried to parlay that in. And then then all these Democrats thought she was qualified to be president. Pete Hegseth is far more qualified than Hillary Clinton ever was. So, for all you people mocking him, fuck yourselves, man, you stupid idiots. So he took a job on Fox News. So what? Who cares? There's all kinds of ex-generals and admirals and stuff who take these jobs on these networks. Who gives a shit if he took a job? But maybe he likes doing it. Maybe he likes talking to people in the morning. Who cares? It's got nothing to do. That does not negate all of his previous experience. Yeah, he would actually be more qualified to be president than Hillary Clinton ever was. So, that's enough with that. But I do have to say, General, I'm going to forget his name. I can't believe it. All right, I'm going to pause this recording until I get his name. General Flynn, that's the guy I was trying to think of. This is one point I have to say I'm a little disappointed. As much as I like Trump's pick for Secretary of Defense, and he's a great guy. Great guy. He's right on all the issues. I think he's a great guy. Don't want to take anything away from him. But I do think that General Flynn should have been Secretary of Defense. Out of all the attacks on Trump and the left's attempts to destroy this man and his family, remember, there's lots of people who got caught up in that whirlwind and they have had their lives destroyed because they were near Trump. It's horrible. The man one of the people who has been the most destroyed because he happened to be in Trump's orbit was General Flynn. General Flynn is an honorable man. He served his country. He was an Air Force general. Remember, he was general when Obama was, and then he got the boot for telling the truth. And this is a good man. I think he should have been Secretary of Defense. The only thing I can think of, what would be really neat, I hope Trump does this, is to recall General Flynn to active duty and make him chairman of the Joint Chiefs. That would be great. Normally you don't want to recall people, right? But in this case, recall him to active duty, reinstate him, totally expunge his record of any of the fake wrongdoing that the Marxist Democrats stuck on his file. Recall him to active duty and make him chairman of the Joint Chiefs. That would be awesome. That would be almost just as good as being Secretary of Defense, right? All right, so there's my talking points for today. I guess I can't say talking points because that's a Bill O'Reilly thing, right? I'm gonna call it this supplemental. Yeah, that's kind of lame. I don't know what to call it. It's just a video, supplemental video, whatever. Anyway, that's it for today. Please watch my other videos. Please share my videos. Listen, I'm not monetized. I don't make money. Thank God. Because nobody watches my. If you're watching my video, you are one of the chosen few. Because nobody watches my videos. But I just this is my way of trying to get what I could the truth out there. Because even though my videos are low budget and low production and sort of cheesy, I always tell the truth, and you can count on that. So, more videos to come. Looking forward to inauguration. That's going to be great. Happy Thanksgiving, Merry Christmas, and all that kind of stuff. And I will see you in the next great American video. Adios, muchachos.